what I thought we would cover in this session is something called architectural significant requirement. This is something which I have been covering as a part of the ISA work, which I'm doing, which is International Association of Software Architects. And the particular section which we are covering is, let me try to give a brief overview of that. And then uh, we kind of look at it like what has been our individual experiences around this. So what are architecturally significant requirements, right? Like, let me try to give a quick rundown on it. We all know what requirements are. And usually capturing requirements has always been a challenge. This is a famous diagram which we would have seen what the customer wanted, what the project manager understood, what the programmer understood, what finally got delivered. Now, interestingly, after many decades of development, we still have the pretty much the same challenges. Now we're going to delve into something even more bigger. So we know of technical requirements, functional requirements, but what is an architecture requirement, right? And it's kind of ironic to see not many documents or many uh, projects or architecture documents actually capture them. What would be the architecture requirements? So typically, a requirement we can consider it to be at an architecture level. If it is at a strategic level, it has a much larger scope than just the project. So the interesting thing that leads us to is, where does these requirements come up? Who gives it? How does it happen? Now the challenge is this: architectural significant requirements arise even before the project has started itself. So typically, even before the business analyst or somebody from the project actively engage, the architectural requirements have started to happen. Okay, so if that is the case, it is stated implicitly. So where does the architect go and get it? So what happens is the architect has to extract it from indirect sources. There is no direct architectural requirement document. Nobody will give it. It doesn't work like that. So it's up to the architect to extract it from indirect and implicit sources. Typically, this would be in either the ideation document or the innovation presentation or slides which was made, which led to this project. It could be hidden in the business case documents, or it could be the larger epic of this whole solution. So, but this is in the order of priority. The least probable place where we can find architectural document is typically in the requirements document made by the business analyst after the project has started. So that would not be an appropriate place to look for it. Quickly, we need to understand there are requirements of three types. Functional, we would have been familiar. Non-functional also we would have been familiar, right? Like performance, extensibility, scalability, security, like that. But the most interesting requirement, not restricted to architecture generally itself, is constraints. So constraints are things like, for example, a constraint is whatever application that I'm going to develop, it has to be supported in multiple languages. So that could be a constraint. Or it could be something like the apps that I'm going to develop will run on low end phones with low end bandwidth. That's a constraint. So it's actually a requirement which is not, which has to be met by taking care of it. You can't really tick it telling this requirement has been fulfilled, but it has to be confirmed to. Okay, so that would be a constraint. Now similarly, there are architectural constraints also which come up as ASRs. Now how do you know that some requirement is relevant to architecture? If it has a roadmap impact, if it is going to affect the quality attributes, and if it's going to have some political impact, then we would call them, we will identify them as ASRs, and the architect has to identify it, assess the impact, and capture it in a document. So let's look at some examples of architecturally significant requirements. So there are some things which has a direct impact. So for example, let's say that a couple of days back, Geo made a deal with Facebook. Now, if I'm going to develop solutions for Geo, then it's kind of important that in the long term, I would have to use assets and properties and APIs of Facebook. Now, this will not come up in the direct project which I'm working on. Probably it's just a billing system. But having this deal happened, I know that this is going to have a long-term impact. Or let's say a company has a long-term deal with Azure or AWS. So that would kind of drive the project itself. But at a project level, there won't be anything specific. So understanding this is an architect's job, and it will not be explicitly stated. The second one would be the quality attributes like extensibility. For example, let's say that a project has to be released first in Europe, and then later it has to, after 3 years, it will be released in, let's say, Southeast Asia, and after a year, it will go to UK. So these are things which talks about extensibility and scalability of the application. But if you look at the project, that project is a specific Europe implementation. But because there is a larger plan, that would come as an architecturally significant requirement. And it is the architect's job to figure it and capture it. The tough part is actually figuring out the indirect impact. So the indirect impact is, let's say that I'm going to roll it out in Europe, but the UK stakeholder is not too enthusiastic about this project. So what is it that this project needs to do so that it makes the adoption interesting for the UK VP? This has to be captured somewhere so that the solution will make it interesting for that person. Or let's say there is a stakeholder who's put a lot at stake for the success of this project. What are the data? What's the items, feedback that can be collected, which will make this stakeholder look good so that the project can become successful? Those needs will not be again in the project requirement, technical specification or functional requirement. It has to be captured as a part of ASRs. Last but not the least, most of the projects have some impact towards driving innovation within the company. This innovation has to be captured, and also relation to the current project has to be made by the architect. From an ISA perspective specifically, there is... So essentially, what we would cover in this episode is, having understood what ASRs are, what is it that we could learn and share amongst ourselves. I'll start with my experience around ASR.